Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. Today is a beautiful day out, 63 degrees in the middle of March, and I'm taking advantage of it. Time to tell a few Old War Stories. This one is entitled Tiny Middle Employee Security. In the old days at Tiny Middle, it was easy. You showed up to work, you would make your way to the back of the store where the break room was, and they had coat hooks all there. You hang your coat up. If there was anything you didn't want to get stolen, maybe your keys or anything else, there were lockers, and they'd give you a locker with a lock and a key and the whole thing. So that was all fine and good. And then eventually around 2008 or something, I moved into the repair shop, and we didn't even bother with that. We'd either just take our coats and drape them over the back of the chair, or there was a shelving unit. Somebody put a screw in there, and I just hang, some coats have the little hangy guy in the back there, so I just hang it there, and it was right there, and everything was easy. When you go to lunch, you grab your coat, you clock out, you go to lunch, you come back, clock back in, throw your coat on the back of the chair, hang it up. Or in sales, you would go back to the break room unless you ate there, in which case you just leave your coat. But eventually they decided that all of the shrink, as they call it in retail, shrink means they buy a set amount of inventory. When stuff gets sold, it's deducted from the inventory, but eventually they get a company in to take inventory where they scan every single item in the store. And then they find out how much was stolen. It was a bad time for all. We were in not a great town, and there was theft, and a lot of it, and we were always blamed for it no matter what. But they thought that a lot of the theft was internal. So then they developed a new plan. The new plan was to build a room. So they got a contractor in or something. He put up a couple of walls, and near the front door of the store there was a little coat room, so to speak. Now, we used to have it real easy also just getting into the building. You would show up, and the doors they had were motorized sliders that would open like that. So what they would do is they would leave the exit door unlocked. And then you would pry it open with your fingers, shut it behind you, and then there was, it was two sets of doors, so then you do the same, and then you're in the store and you're in. And it worked. Nobody ever thought anything. Sometimes customers were lined up outside, but I guess they finally caught wind of that. Did anybody ever break in? No, we were in there, so it wasn't that big of a deal, and obviously it was locked when we closed, and that was that. But anyway, they decided that now they would leave the outer door unlocked for us to get in. The inner door was to remain locked at all times until, of course, the store opened, and they put a doorbell button. That was placed in the main office where typically there was somebody there, and they could open the door if need be, but you could hear the bell throughout. It was pretty quiet in the store because we weren't open. So I'd get in, and then I'd have to ring the bell. Now sometimes nobody would come. You could hear the bell from the door, so it's not like they didn't hear it. Oh, maybe somebody else will get it. I don't care, Just people not wanting to do their job as usual. But eventually somebody would come, and that was a minor inconvenience. But every little fucking brat that came in, and the parents were looking at the receipt as they're leaving at the store, or looking at their phone, figuring some other shit out, not paying attention, or watching their kid, of course, the kid would go, ring! And it was one of those bells that sounded like that. It was just a constant, you know, it wasn't just like a doorbell. So that was annoying, just hearing that throughout the day. That was just a nice little thing. Anyway, barring that, employee security, they called it. Very official sounding, you see. Employee security means we're watching you, and bad. So what they did is they built this little coat room, and that room remained locked at all times. When you came in the morning, whoever opened the front door for you would typically be able to open that coat room and let you in there. And the door was always locked on the outside, but you could unlock, you know, you could get out from the inside, no problem, without a key. And it would automatically lock behind you, with a closer, of course, because otherwise, you know. And in there, and I had never been in there, because I detested this incredibly, because we used to just be able to bring our damn coats in. But they're feeling that people are stuffing shit in their pockets, blah, blah, blah. Shit like that. So you would go in there and put your coat in there. I think they moved the lockers in there, not certain on that, or they got new ones or something. But you would need to carry certain things with you back to the sales floor. Maybe your wallet, perhaps your keys, your phone, various items like that, whatever, maybe some medication, something, whatever you have that you kind of need with you that wouldn't necessarily fit in your pocket. So they had clear bags. So this way, a manager could always see what you're carrying. That also meant that when you went out for lunch, a manager now needed to know, because you needed to grab your coat, so you needed to get a manager to open the door so they know what time you left and if you're coming back late. Obviously, it's all logged in the system anyway, and people generally came back pretty well on time. There were exceptions, of course, as there always will be. Somebody's car breaks down or what have you. You know, no matter what it was, there's always little exceptions that happen here and there. Well, anyways, I detested this room and this idea because I wasn't stealing anything. I have nothing to hide. So I fought back by simply leaving my coat in the car. And yes, that did mean that when it's a blizzard outside, I would take my coat off in the car, leave it on the seat, and walk through the blizzard into the store. "Where's your coat?" everybody would say. And I'd say, "Well, it's not going in that fucking room." I don't need them watching me because they knew I was a good kid. They knew I would come back on time. But quite honestly, when I was in the shop, I didn't take a lunch. They didn't like that either. But I didn't take lunch. I just didn't clock out and I didn't leave from my bench. I just kept working through it. And that was generally because of Pat, my manager, who was such an asshole and gave us so much damn work that you just didn't have time to have lunch. You just honestly didn't have time. Now, what we would do on a regular basis, this was almost daily, but not always. One of the guys would go out to the sales floor and we had refrigerators out there. The kind that you find in stores now where they have drinks, your Coke and your Pepsi, your Sprite, and your Monster drinks and Red Bull and all that stuff. And of course we had to pay for this stuff. Now of course we got our discount on it, so that was a nice thing. And typically whoever's getting the drink, you know, if it was $1.29 or something, by the time that's all said and done, the tax wouldn't reach $1.50. So you'd give him $1.50 and you don't want your change back. It's just for the service of getting it. And that was certainly fair. You know, whatever it was. I'm making prices up because I really don't remember. And that was like a thing for years. Every day. Drinks? Drinks? Yeah, you going? Yeah, here you go. Get me a green. Get me a blue. Get me a this. Get me that. Oh, can you get me one of the... Oh, can I just have a water? Oh, get me a Coke, you know, whatever it was. And they go out and they buy the stuff and come back and everybody gets their drinks and we just carry on. So I pretty much always got a Monster and just had it on my bench there, and I kind of lived off that stuff. Never did shake the habit of that. Exactly. I'm too cheap now to buy Monster most times. Sometimes I'll treat myself, but Aldi has energy drinks that are not as good as Monster, but they're cheap. They're, I don't know, 95 cents? Hell of a lot cheaper than Monster, so I buy those. And when do I have those now? Typically, if I have a long video I'm making or a lot of videos I'm making in one day, then I'll grab an energy drink. I might have one today because, as you know, with these old war stories, I tell a bunch of them in a row. So probably a little later I'll have one, and that'll be that. So that's what I did. So I didn't take a lunch and I didn't bring my coat in because I detested the entire thing, and, you know, didn't go to lunch either. So fuck all your policies and bullshit. I got you over a barrel. So take that, Tiny Metal. Anyway, I'm sure that's still there today, and there's probably even more shit where they probably got rid of the clear bags and said, you can't take shit with you to the floor. I don't know. They just went totally fucking insane. What else would you expect? Anyway, that's going to wrap this one up. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.